America's LGBT rights movement began before Stonewall in the 1950s with equality pioneers Frank Kameny and Barbara Gittings.
Suddenly we began to see that the problem of homosexuality was not our problem, but society's problem.
During a time of growing Cold War paranoia, a developing visible gay culture offered McCarthyism an easy target to blame for America's woes.
Insanity of the day was that every homosexual was a communist, a traitor.
Frank Kameny was driven to activism following his dismissal from the US Army in 1957 as part of the government's purge of gay people from the armed forces and civil service jobs.
Policy of the department is that we do not employ homosexuals knowingly.
Kameny devoted the rest of his life to tackling institutional prejudice, filing the first ever sexual orientation civil rights appeal to the US Supreme Court. In 1961, he co-founded the Washington, D.C. branch of the Mattachine Society, organising some of the earliest public protests by gays and lesbians.
I was the only person who used my own name.
1 year before the Stonewall riots, Kameny coined the battle cry "Gay is good" and used it on protest placards. In 1971, he founded the Gay and Lesbian Activists Alliance of Washington, D.C. and along with Barbara Gittings succeeded in having homosexuality declassified as a mental illness by the American Psychiatric Society.
APA board itself and the members were strongly in favor of it.
Barbara Gittings is known as the Rosa Parks of the gay and lesbian civil rights movement. Growing up, she struggled to understand her sexuality and, spurred by a lack of representation in literature, she set out to discover more. Gittings started the New York chapter of the Daughters of Bilitis in 1958, serving as the president and then the editor of their national magazine, The Ladder.
The message, we are whole and happy and healthy.
Her activism focused on education and removing stigma through positive representation and visibility. She joined the Gay Caucus of the American Library Association in 1970 and successfully campaigned for better visibility for gay and lesbian employees.
I was in a room with 12 other lesbians for the first time in my life, and oh, what a thrill that was.
Gittings and Kameny helped launch the pre-Stonewall protest movement, choosing a non-confrontational approach by trying to blend in with a heteronormative society. In 1965, Gittings and Kameny organised the first ever gay and lesbian pickets in front of the White House, with protesters dressed conservatively to look like any person on the street, and equally employable.
The women wore dresses, the men wore suits and ties.
Between 1965 and 69, the pair also led the annual Reminder protests in Philadelphia, which became gay rights marches following Stonewall, eventually evolving into the huge pride celebration seen today.
Without our demonstrations starting in '65, Stonewall would not have happened.
Barbara Gittings passed away in 2007 and was honoured with an array of awards named after her. And Frank Kameny died in 2011, being honoured with a memorial headstone at the Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C.